world of Cyberpunk 2077 is full of advertisements. They are everywhere, and they are a symptom of what's wrong with the world in this game. In Night City, where the game takes place, corporations have been completely deregulated, and whatever government remains is a thinly veiled figurehead for corporate interests. There's no social support in Night City, no welfare, no workers' unions, and basically no laws keeping corporations from doing whatever they want in the pursuit of profit. The ads all over the city are pervasive. There's almost no escape from them. You can try to get away from them by going to the outskirts of the city, but even then, the advertisements loom over you. I give a lot of credit to the developers of this game for how many there are. I've spent well over 100 hours in this city, and I still occasionally come across ads I've never seen. These ads exemplify a marketing philosophy that I will call evocative imagery at any cost. The corporations of Cyberpunk's world don't care what they have to depict to grab your attention. As long as you look at their ad, they win. And as ads become more salacious for your attention, there develops an arms race of who can be the most shocking, the loudest, the most sexual, the most disgusting. In a city full of cars and pedestrians, this is an explicitly neglectful marketing strategy to the safety of the population. The ads, as an extension of the corporations, make this city more dangerous to live in. All in the pursuit of stealing your most precious resource, your time. And of course, your second most precious resource, your money. The uncomfortable truth about a lot of these ads is that they are evocative. I like looking at this image. Something about the colors is hypnotizing. This ad here mesmerizes me. I have no idea what they're selling, but something about a silver, indestructible woman sitting on a flaming wreckage like it was a lounge chair makes me feel things. The high fashion ads are some of my favorites and have some of the most striking imagery. These ads are often silly, colorful, and well animated. Some are opulent and beautiful and do a great job of contrasting against the kind of life that most of the people looking at these ads are living. There's a lot of good art here. They add a lot to the world building of this game. And yet, I find a part of myself revolted by them. Not because of their content, but because they are so sickeningly familiar.
It's barbecue's best pair.
8!
Sophia, you stopped coming to the cafe.
Your house explodes. Don't have your house explode. Get rid of cable.
Lisa.
Becca.
Sorry.
Everybody hates advertisements, and if you don't, you should. Not just because they're annoying, and they are, but because advertisements are insidious by their nature. An advertisement inherently has an inverse relationship to your best interests. You living a content life is a threat to an ad. Advertisements rely on you having a deficiency, and if you don't have a deficiency, one will gladly be provided to you. Your life, in some way, has to be lacking for the advertisement to be able to sell you a solution that you can spend your money on. Or even more effective for an ad is the idea that your whole life is substandard. That's why modern advertisements often don't sell you a product. They sell you a lifestyle, an image, an attitude. They sell you on the idea that there is a way of life that is better than yours, and by spending money, you can open the door to that way of life. It's no wonder that outside the world of advertising, corporations do everything in their power to lower your quality of life. Ads have no power if you are safe, healthy, free, and educated. At least in Cyberpunk 2077, the ads aren't actually there to sell me some soft drink or a synthetic beef or a cybernetic implant. The ads in this world prey on the people of Night City. But to me as an actual player and purchaser of the game, these advertisements add value. The city's ads show you places that you can visit and products you can actually buy. This billboard for Lizzie's nightclub is advertising a real nightclub. You can go there. most of the food products advertised can actually be bought and used as well. The same is true of the weapon ads. It's not just the content of the ads in Night City that add to the world building, it's also the form these ads take. There are so many different versions of the same ad for the same product, with different aspect ratios depending on where the ad is meant to be displayed, or animated versions of the ad versus static versions, vertical versus horizontal orientations of the ad. You get a sense of an ad campaign, much in the way you see many different versions of the same ad in real life. As an ad creator, you have to create a package for your client. The ad has to work on mobile and computer screens, as well as TV screens and billboards. It has to have a long version to be displayed on daytime TV, and a short version for YouTube. It has to have a print version for magazines and an audio version for podcast networks or radio. The developers of Cyberpunk seem to understand that process, and as a result, it feels like a more well-rounded commentary on advertising. I also like how there are places in Night City where the ads reflect the state of affairs in the area. Pacifica, a part of the city that has a mostly black population, has been entirely abandoned by the corporations and the government alike, and you can see this abandonment in how the ads have gone into complete disrepair, unlike the ad placements in richer, whiter parts of the city. The implementation of advertisements in this game makes the world deeper, more believable, more colorful, and more outrageous. In 1914, Woodrow Wilson created the Federal Trade Commission, and in 1934, Franklin D. Roosevelt created the Federal Communications Commission. These are the governmental regulatory bodies in America that have some jurisdiction over advertisements. Since their creation, ad regulations have made real-life advertisements less irresponsible over time. But even so, ads still only serve to take away value. They are leeches on society, and they're leeches on your psyche. At best, advertisements fill your head with lies, trash imagery, and slogans that can stay in your head rent-free for decades. At worst, they succeed in making you feel less than, waste your time, eat your money. And in the case of military advertisements,
it's not for everyone, but if you want to learn and make big decisions, start with this one. Decide to lead as an Army officer.
They validate the most destructive worldviews. Cyberpunk has these kinds of altruistic military ads too, but they could never be as nauseating as the real thing. Why do we allow this? Aren't there any ways to stop this kind of abuse? Well, I checked. There are multiple ratings boards for video and radio content. The MPAA rates movies, AC Nielsen rates TV and radio, and the ESRB rates video games. Collectively, these organizations look at movies, TV shows, and video games and decide whether they should be rated mature, R-rated, E for everyone, PG-13, and so on. But none of these independent organizations seem to have any jurisdiction over advertisements. And even if they did, I'm not sure that they would solve any problems, because each of these organizations have their own issues and inconsistencies and biases when it comes to how they rate things. I looked at the websites of the FTC and the FCC, and found that over the decades, they have done a decent job at reining in some of the most dangerous advertising practices, especially among food and drug ads. It's why you don't see cigarette ads like this anymore.
How's about taking a nap? I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break. That's it! Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got...
Or soft drink ads like this. Outside of that, you can actually file a complaint against an advertisement if you consider it too indecent or lewd. You can file a complaint if you think the advertisement is untruthful, but really only if the ad is specifically making a provably false claim about the product in the advertisement. Interestingly, you can file a complaint if you find an ad too loud. So there are some mechanisms in place to limit the egregiousness of ads, but I suspect that these official complaints are rarely made and even more rarely acted on. And from what I can tell, these regulatory bodies don't have any laws to deal with what I think is a bigger problem with advertising: the sheer quantity and inescapability of advertisements. The inundation of advertisements that we're subjected to creates a problem more harmful than the sum of its parts. Ads are a corruption of our public spaces. They pervert any architecture that they're placed on, they pollute the air with their noise, and in the end, plastering ads all over any empty space available for rent means that corporations get to decide how our world looks and sounds. As a society, we've lost authorship of our cities and our digital spaces to entities that have the worst intentions. And eventually, even the quiet places in our minds are soiled with the echoes of corporate sensibilities. It's an internal and external perversion of our humanity. Cyberpunk 2077 gets this. The ads in the city speak to the fears of the people who live here. Many of the ads tell a story, like that of an employee who is insecure about their productivity and needs an expensive cybernetic implant to keep up with their coworkers and hopefully avoid getting fired. Or the story of a track athlete whose cybernetic implants are so bleeding edge they need their own pit crew. The ads are a mirror for the people's desires, fears, and vulnerabilities. And because the corporations have free reign to place the advertisements anywhere and everywhere, the city itself becomes an advertisement, rather than a functioning place. There's a crucial difference between the ads of Night City and the ads of the real world. The world of Cyberpunk is supposed to be a hyper-capitalist, dystopian nightmare. But Night City's ads are created by artists who understand marketing. In real life, ads are made by marketers who hire artists. For this reason, when I play Cyberpunk, I feel immersed by all the lights and sounds as they strengthen and enhance the fantasy of this world. It's meant to be a cautionary tale of what happens when corporations are unregulated. But in the end, playing Cyberpunk only reminds me where the real nightmare is.